Hello and welcome to another video. In this one, I'm going to be checking out another series of movies all in this one video for my first time watching series. I'm going to be watching the Universal Classic Monsters Icons of Horror collection. So this will include Dracula, Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, and the Wolfman. I'm pretty sure this set does not include, or I know this set doesn't include, this does not include the Creature from the Black Lagoon, though that is technically a part of the Universal Classic Monsters collection. It doesn't have it in the set, so that one will be left off of this video, but I'm going to be checking out all of these movies for the first time in this one and giving my review and initial reaction to seeing them for the first time. So this is a cool set that my sister got me for my birthday earlier this year. I'm sure several collectors out there probably have this one, but it's pretty cool. These are the oldest movies I have in my collection, so it's kind of a nice digibook set that has Dracula, Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, and then the Wolfman as well. So I'm just going to be watching these in the order of their release. So like Dracula, we have 1931, Frankenstein 31, the Invisible Man 33, and then 1941 for the Wolfman. So I'm just going to be watching these in order of what they are as I turn the pages. So first, let's go through what I know about these movies. Now, this is an interesting kind of question because these are very iconic, popular characters. So I know a good bit about the characters themselves, but I've never seen these original films before. Now, one mild disclaimer is one time I did try to start the first Dracula movie as I was, just scrolling through movies one day years ago. I started it, got kind of bored, never finished it. But this, since I have gotten into movies more and classic films a little bit more as well, these are ones that I do want to at least go and check out at least the one time and give an initial thoughts and reaction on. So I've technically seen the first 10 minutes or so of Dracula probably, but the rest of these I haven't seen any bit of. So obviously I know a good bit about Frankenstein, the story surrounding it. The Invisible Man, I have an Invisible Man poster right behind me, as you can see. That's for the most recent adaptation of that story. And then the Wolfman is, I think, some kind of early werewolf type thing. We'll see when I get into the movie and check it out. So I'm going to get in, check these movies out, write down some notes and stuff throughout, and then we'll come back around and I'll give you my thoughts and reviews of each one. Well, all of this black and white cinema really has me in the mood to change things up a little. I just finished the last movie, being The Wolfman, in the Universal Classic Monsters collection. This was actually really fun. Not that I didn't expect it to be fun, but I just wasn't sure how these movies would resonate with me, being, nearly 100 years old for some of these films, but I actually really enjoyed them. Surprisingly, just kind of giving my overall thoughts, then I'll give a little bit on each movie. I thought I would enjoy Dracula and Frankenstein the most, and while I did enjoy both of those, I ended up liking The Invisible Man and The Wolfman the most of the two, which was really surprising. I thought for sure, being more iconic of Dracula and Frankenstein, I would like those more. I think The Invisible Man was my personal favorite. I'll kind of get to that when I talk about the individual film, but there was just certain elements of that movie, most notably just in the production of it all, that just was amazing to me, that they were able to craft the film at that time with the technology that they had and make it still so effective. Like, I was nearly on the edge of my seat for most of this movie, because of just how well it was constructed. The story they were telling was so compelling and stuff. So, I mean, just overall, great work on all of these movies. As many people probably know if you're fans of these, Dracula and Frankenstein came out in 1931. The Invisible Man was 1933, and then The Wolfman was 1941. So that was the most recent of them. So again, I really enjoyed these movies. I don't think they're ones that I'll revisit like extremely regularly, maybe pop them on every few years around Halloween, that kind of thing. But it was definitely a series that I really enjoyed kind of digging into. They're definitely some of the oldest films that I've ever seen, which was really cool. And just to get to see and experience a piece of a significant film history for the first time was really fun. Now, going into each movie individually, I'm going to kind of refer to my notes a little bit. So if I'm looking down, that's why. Kicking off with Dracula, the first one I started with, I did not realize that this movie was an adaptation of a stage play. I knew, there was a novelization and stuff like that around it, and, mythology and all that kind of thing, but I did not realize that it was, this one specifically was inspired by a stage play, and the guy who plays Count Dracula in the film was the one who portrayed him, I believe, on the American stage when they did that performance, so that was really cool. And then everything with kind of like the reveal of the initial reveal of Dracula, the whole setup of his mansion and castle in Transylvania and all that stuff was really cool. There was no music throughout this movie, which I think was really effective throughout a lot of it. I know this was very early in filmography, especially in the talkies era. They had not been making talkies movies very long when they produced this film, but it had very dark and beautiful imagery, very gothic in many different ways, especially with the Transylvania and London settings that this movie took place in, which was really cool. I really liked the use of matte paintings as backgrounds. I think that's a really cool utilization of artwork within a film, which is really neat. And then Renfield as a character, didn't realize until they'd said the name a couple of times, like, oh, that's Renfield, like the assistant to Dracula. I know they just made a Renfield movie with Nicolas Cage in the past couple of years and finally made that connection while watching it. And then I thought, that was a really good performance, probably one of the top performances in the movie aside from Dracula. I just really thought it was a great performance, especially with the body language of it all, the over-the-top nature of it. It was really effective and really well done. And then Van Helsing, I had not realized that the character of Van Helsing originated in Dracula. I know Van Helsing is some kind of like demon Dracula or demon vampire hunter, but I did not realize the connection to the Dracula character. So that was really cool to get to see that for the first time and not even know that going into the movie. And then with the whole vampires feeding, the slow, methodical movement of the characters, all of that I can tell really had an inspiration for all of the subsequent adaptations of different vampire flicks and stuff since then. I actually also just watched The Lost Boys again this week, which is one of my favorite vampire movies. So it's cool just to see the inspiration from something as old as the original Dracula movie still be carried forward into today's day and age or not even that, in the 80s and then still into today with other films. I thought the movie did have a little bit of a lackluster ending. It wasn't bad. That was kind of a continuing theme through some of these films, is they really wrap things up quickly, and it was like, oh, okay, that's where we're going to end it. Like, it's satisfying enough, but a little bit lackluster. And then, yeah, like I said, this was actually, I do remember this because I watched all the bonus scenes or behind the scenes, which wasn't really, how they made the movie, but they're just a documentary in the bonus features of, talking about the legacy of each of these movies, that this was the first talkie supernatural thriller. So that was really cool. It was really neat to learn about the different aspects of the movie that is carried, and this applies to all the movies really, that is carried into cinema today, even so far later. So that was really cool to check out that documentary on the bonus features. I was able to do that for Dracula, Frankenstein, and The Invisible Man. I have not had time for the Wolfman one yet because I literally just finished it before recording this video, but really cool to get to see all of those different documentaries about it. Next, with Frankenstein, this one was cool because there was no buildup. Like, we just are dropped into it, which was another continuing theme through a lot of these, but I really noticed it in the Frankenstein movie. We're just right into things. They're already digging up bodies, trying to bring them to life, that kind of thing. And so that was really cool. I liked that there was more involvement from Dr. Frankenstein's friends in this one with the story. I'm familiar enough with the story of Frankenstein through, most notably for me, probably Frankenweenie, and then Young Frankenstein. That's probably my favorite adaptation of the Frankenstein character. But I thought it was interesting that they utilized his friends and colleagues in the studying of this monster that they created. One of the darkest scenes in the movie of that with the monster and the girl by the lake, that was a really effective scene of just conveying the danger of the situation that everyone is in. But I also kind of giggled at it because they're tossing these flowers into the lake there, and oh, it floats, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, you'll float too, because I know what comes just because of how iconic this moment is. So I thought that was kind of funny, of almost a nod from the It story with "you'll float too" kind of thing. So I just really did enjoy that one. I like Dracula more than Frankenstein, which I did not expect, but they're still pretty close. Next, we have The Invisible Man, and this is another one that wastes no time getting started. I loved the story for this one. I thought it was straightforward. It was very effective, just the right amount of characters, the motivations for each and every one of them. I did not expect, as I said at the beginning of this video, or beginning of my reactions here, to enjoy this one as much as I did. This one was definitely my favorite of them. I'm a big fan of the most recent Invisible Man adaptation from Lee Winnell from a few years ago, but I thought this one was pretty much on the same level as that one with the storytelling and the filmmaking for it. There was absolutely incredible effects. I have no idea how they pulled it off. Well, now I do, because I did watch some of the behind the scenes stuff, and they talked about how they produced it, and it's incredible. So amazing filmmaking in this movie that still holds up to this day for a lot of it, I think, which is incredible. So that was my favorite of them. And then finishing off with The Wolfman, this was the first one, if I remember right, aside from the title scene, to use score throughout the movie. So that was really cool. That was one thing I missed kind of in the first three movies, was a little bit of score throughout, but like I said, that these were like the first talkies, really, so they didn't utilize a film score as much in them, aside from the title and maybe closing credit sequence as well. So I really appreciated the use of music throughout this one. I thought that was really well done and kind of helped to give more character motivation and emotional investment in the story, which I really liked. I do think this one had really interesting characters overall. I'm still not quite sure where I land on the performance of Larry, who plays the guy who turns into the werewolf in this one. There was so many moments where I was thinking he's doing a pretty good job with his performance, but then there was other times where I was like, I don't know, like, is this an earlier acting role for him or something like that? Some others may know who are more familiar with this time period. I don't know the actor. I'm familiar with his work at all. But there was moments where I was like, this is a good performance. And there was other moments where I was like, I feel like he's trying a little bit too hard or a little over the top. So maybe that's just the time period kind of showing a little bit more from this movie. But that was one thing I noticed. And this was another one like Invisible Man that just had really great effects and makeup all throughout. So as a whole, I rated Dracula at 7 out of 10. I gave Frankenstein a 6 out of 10. I gave The Invisible Man an 8 out of 10. And I would probably give The Wolfman a 7 out of 10 as well. I really enjoyed doing this. I thought it was a really fun way to explore some cinema that I had not yet experienced before and check out some classics for the first time. So I'd love to hear, what's your favorite movie in this series? Let me know in the comments down below. Like I said, my personal favorite would probably be The Invisible Man, but I would love to hear yours as well. Thank you for checking out this video and sticking around to the end. I will see you in the next one.